We are continuing the multiplication notes on page 11.8. So just a reminder, when you are multiplying, so let's say we have two radicals that we're multiplying. So some of these you'll see that we do have outside numbers, some of them we don't. Some of them we don't even have radicals, so you got to keep all of that straight. But when you are multiplying two radicals, you can multiply the outside two things together. So I'm going to call that A times C. That stays on the outside, and then you multiply the inside stuff together, and that stays on the inside. Then again, we always have to try to simplify what's on the inside. So we're going to show two different things. Both of them are like distributing. So distribute, remember, is to multiply through to both things. So 3 times the square root of 6, we just have to write as 3 square root of 6. Plus square root of 6 times the square root of 8 is the square root of 6 times 8, so 48. There's nothing we can simplify for 3 square root of 6. 48 does have a perfect square in it. It is 16. So 16 times 3, 4 square root of 3. These are not like terms, so you just need to rewrite it as 3 square root of 6 plus 4 square root of 3. And that would be your final answer. In junior high, you probably learned something called FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. We are not going to call it FOIL, all right, even though it says it. I am not going to call it that. What I want you to realize is that you distribute the 4 to both of those two terms first. So whatever the first term is in your first set of parentheses, you're going to distribute, so multiply that through. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. 4 times the negative square root of 3 gives me minus 4 square root of 3. So make sure you pay attention to that subtraction sign. Now I need to distribute the other part. So 2 times the square root of 3. Then we would have minus the square root of 9. Some of you will get to the point to realize if you have square root of a times the square root of a, that's just a. And the reason you have that is it becomes a squared underneath. So the square root and squared undoes each other. So this square root of 9 is going to become a 3. So if you can right away recognize that as 3, that's great. If not, there's nothing wrong with doing the square root first and then making it the number. So now I can do 8 minus 3 to give me 5. Then I have negative 4 plus 2 would give me minus 2 square root of 3. And there's your final answer. I'm going to do all the odd ones first, then I'll come back and do the even ones. So number 11, those are not the same, so 2 square root of 15. 2 goes on the outside, square root of 15, plus we have 2 square roots, so you need to do 15 times 5, which is 75. So 2 square root of 15 plus the square root of 75. 15 does not have any perfect squares in it, but 75 does. So 25 times 3, square root, 5 square root of 3, and then bring down the 2 square root of 15. And there's your final answer. Number 13, we have numbers on the outside and inside. So when we do this one, negative 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Then we have our square root, 3 times 10 is 30. Now you have to be careful. You have a negative 2 and a negative 3, so that becomes plus 6. Square root of 3 times 6 is 18. So 30 actually cannot be broken down. There are no perfect squares that go into 30. 18 can be broken down into 9 times 2. Square root. The 9, square root of 9 becomes a 3. 6 times 3 is 18, square root of 2. Bring down the negative 6, square root of 30, and it's a plus sign between the two. Number 15, we have square root of 5 times square root of 5. The long way to do that is 25, square root of 25. If you can realize that those are just going to cancel out to positive 5, that's great. Plus 4 square root of 5. Now we distribute this one, plus 2 square root of 5, and plus 8. So the square root of 25 is just 5. 5 plus 8 gives me 13, and then these two are like terms because they both have a square root of 5. So 4 plus 2 would give me plus 6 square root of 5. 17. When we multiply here, 6 times 5 is 30, square root of 9. This would give us minus 24 square root of 3. 6 times negative 4. Then we distribute a negative 2, so that's going to be minus 10 square root of 3. And then this will give us plus 8. A minus 2 and a minus 4 gives us a positive 8. So the square root of 9 becomes a 3. So 30 times 3, this whole front term is 90. So 90 plus 8 is 98. And then these two you can put together. So minus 34 square root of 3. I want to do 18 real quick to make sure you watch this one, and then if you feel comfortable you can shut it off, or you could go back up and try them again. Try the other ones. You have to remember that to square something means that you multiply something by itself. So most people want to just square each of those, and you cannot do that. That is not correct. You actually need to write this out as 2 square root of 7 plus 1 times 2 square root of 7 plus 1. So anytime you see something squared, you need to write it out as being multiplied by itself. So now I can distribute. Gives me 4 square root of 49, or again, if you just know that's 7, that's great. Plus 2 square root of 7, plus another 2 square root of 7. And then a plus 1. 1 times 1, not 1 plus 1. So square root of 49 becomes 7. 4 times 7 gives me 28. 28 plus 1 gives me 29. We could put these two together to give us plus 4 square root of 7. Now I'll go back up and do number 12. Number 12, the 3 and 5 go together, so 15 square root of 10 plus 3 times 4 gives me 12 on the outside. 2 times 10 gives me 20 on the inside. 10 does not have a perfect square in it, but 20 does. So 4 times 5, square root, that becomes a 2. 2 times 12 gives us 24 square root of 5. Bring down the 15 square root of 10, and then plus. For 14, there's like an invisible 1 out here. So that would be negative 4 square root of 12. This would give us minus, because you have a negative 4 and a positive 3. Minus 12 square root of 28. 2 times 14 is 28. 12 has a perfect square. 4 and 3, square root. Square root of 4 becomes 2. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8 square root of 3. 28 also has a perfect square, which is 4. Square root, 4 and 7. That becomes a 2. So minus 24 square root of 7. And there's your final answer. And 16, we have a 1 on the outside of these, so square root of 2 times square root of 2 becomes square root of 4, plus 5 square root of 2, minus 6 square root of 2, minus 30. Again, make sure you're watching for those negatives. Square root of 4 becomes 2. 2 minus 30 would give me negative 28. Then you can put these two together. It gives me negative 1, so just a minus square root of 2. And there's your final answer. So again, you have to distribute, multiply your outside numbers, multiply your inside numbers, and then if your inside needs to be broken down to take out perfect squares, make sure you do that.